Okay, so what I'm going to do for you today is I've gone through and I've marked up a few pairs because I want to show some like live examples on the market. So this is literally from today on a few of the pairs. This is GBPJPY, and as you can see from earlier on, it was in what I would call a really hard trend up. I haven't actually marked it up, but I have spoke about the hard trend in time strategy before, and just quick, which shows us the momentum of where the price is looking to go. You can see that from about 7:30 this morning, you can above this dotted green line, which is completely in control of the market. So that's why you can see. So going from here, so basically, if you remember our rules for our hard time trending strategy, so because this is in an uptrend, we would look for price to be above the 20 EMA, which is this black plot line here underneath the price. So it's above that. And there's a big difference in your currency strength meter. And obviously still, even now, you can see that GBP is 60 and JPY is 11. So that's like a massive difference in the currency strength. So that's two of our confirmations ticked off. And then our third confirmation would be that the RSI, which is the momentum indicator down here, is well above that green dotted line, which it is. So that's the third confirmation. And then so what we'd be looking for is, normally we'd look for price to break out and then retest, and the retest can be normally about 2, 3, 4 candles maybe. But because this is, the buyers are completely in control, what we would do in this scenario is that instead of looking, because them retracements that are basically 2 candles or more, it's called a macro pivot. And then, so if you look here, when it was a hard trend in time, it was literally one red retracement candle. That's called a micro pivot, and that's what we're looking for at times of a really hard trend. So what we would do is we'd wait for our red retracement candle, and then if the next candle closes in our direction, then we'd enter at the close of that candle. And if we just go through them here, so you can see we had a little retracement here, and then we had our blue candle. So if we entered at the end of this blue candle, even for one candle, you would have won. 3 candles, which is 15 minutes, you would have won. And then we had this red candle, and then this blue. Well, I wouldn't really count that. I would have waited for this one to close, because that's literally like a doji. So I'd have waited for it to close and then got in there, and then 1, 2, 3 or 1. You would have won that one. And then you had another red retracement candle, and then you had a blue candle going in our direction. So it entered at the close of that candle, and then we would have won. And then another red candle, and then another blue candle we would have entered, we would have won. And then one red retracement candle, and then a blue candle we would have entered, and we would have won. And then when it basically got up to here where we are now, we would stop using that strategy, because if you look down at the RSI, you can see that plot line's now come back below that green dotted line. So that's what you want to look out for. So because it can get quite addictive, that strategy, because a lot of opportunities come up one after another. But if you just keep an eye on your RSI plot line, and as soon as that plot line comes back down below downtrend, if it come back above the red line, we'd stop using that strategy because it's the momentum indicators telling us that the buyers are sort of not in complete control as they were previously. But I just wanted to mention that anyway. But going back to the markups here, so what we can see here is that prices come up, and then it's created a resistance, and then eventually prices broke through. It's created a new resistance up here, and then as you can see, prices come back to retest this previous resistance, now support, because it's broke out and it's now retesting. The reason why I haven't put an up arrow here to enter is because oversold, sorry. So that was one of my confirmations that I couldn't tick off, so I didn't like jump into that, or I wouldn't have. But obviously it still went in our direction, but then literally it come back and see on the stochastics, the plot line was oversold, and then we had to cross up with our confirmation candle, and then you would enter at the close of that candle for either 3 minutes or 15-minute trade. Either one would have won. And then obviously, as far as our RSI momentum indicator goes, it's above the red, and it's in between the red and the green, which normally shows it might be coming into some sort of consolidation phase. And then literally you can see straight after, it's just started to bounce about in EMA. So that's a really good way of using the momentum indicator, because it can literally tell you when one phase is going to end. So we had a trending phase, and then you might have thought that it would carry on into a trending phase, but if you was to look at, it's going to come into a consolidating phase, because the momentum, the plot line is in between the green and the red dotted line, and when the plot line's in between them, that's when we would be considering consolidation phase at that moment in time. And then the reason why I haven't marked up a top zone and been taking downtrends in the consolidation, I've only been taking the uptrends, and that's because we're looking at GBP JPY, and even though it's in a slight consolidation phase on the chart, our currency strength indicator shows that GBP is so much stronger than JPY, because GBP is 61, JPY is 11. So just based on that, I wouldn't be comfortable taking any sort of put trades, because JPY is so weak compared to GBP. You don't know whether it's going to make it down enough, obviously, for you to profit in that trade. So that's why I was just looking for up trades in the consolidation phase. And as you can see, earlier on, when it was in that hard trend, the last pivot point that it gave us, if you carry that all the way across, which I've done with this purple zone, you can see that is what is created. So it was a previous resistance, and now it's acting as a support for all of this consolidation. So obviously, when price come back down to this point, we'd be looking at our consolidation checklist, and them confirmations are to make sure that price is moving over this 20, moving back and forth, back and forth. We'd look for price to be at the Bollinger Band, which it is. So this blue line is a lower Bollinger Band, and as you can see, price is right at that, and it's in our zone as well. And then our third car is oversold, and we'd be looking for it to cross up, which it is. And then if you look at the RSI momentum indicator, you can see that the plot line is in between the red dotted line and the blue dotted line, which indicates that it is in a consolidation phase. Because basically, if that plot line had broke out below that red dotted line, there's some downward momentum, and you'd expect price to carry on going down. But obviously, the plot line is stayed in above that. And then we had our blue confirmation candle, and then enter at the end of that, close of that candle, even for 3 minutes or 15 minutes, it would have cleared. And then it's exactly the same for this. So price went back up, come back down into that zone, was at the Bollinger Band. We had the stochastics oversold, the RSI was still in between the red dotted line. So at the close of that blue confirmation candle, you'd enter for 3 minutes or 15 minutes, and that trade would have won. And that was just on GBP JPY. And I've got a few others to show you as well. Pre-mark to mark, because on Zoom you only get like 40 minutes, and I wanted to make sure I was giving you all the information rather than you just watching me draw it up. So if we look at Euro GBP, we can see that pretty much the same thing, but in the opposite. So it was a really hard downtrend, because the whole of this movement, price was well below that AMA. And you can see that the plot line on the RSI is below that red line. Is this exact point here. And what happens then is that price continues to move up, and then we end up with price at the opposite Bollinger Band. So price has crossed through the EMA. It's at the opposite Bollinger Band. We have the stochastics overbought, and the RSI plot line is in between the green and the red. So we have all our confirmation. So we'd wait for this red confirmation candle, which we got, and then we would enter it, and that trade would have won. And then you can see that it's in obviously a bit of consolidation, and then obviously price comes down, creates this new lower low, because it is lower than this previous point. And then you can see that the RSI plot line at that moment in time is below the red dotted line, and it's because it's made a lower low. So if I was looking at it live and it was like this, I'd be looking for it to break out, retest, and then carry on in the downtrend until obviously more information become available. And then obviously you can see that eventually it didn't break that. Prices continued going up, and then we can see our plot line has come back up above that red dotted line. So it's in between them two dotted lines now. So we'd be waiting for price to come back up to this opposite Bollinger Band, which it has done. It done it here as well. I just haven't put an arrow. So the RSI plot line was where in between the green and the red. So you could have took at the end of that red candle 3 or 5 minutes, and that would have cleared. And then again, price has come back up to the Bollinger Band, we're oversold, we're still in between the lines. So we wait for the close of that candle to enter for 3 or 15 minutes. And then that trade would have won as well. And then you can see price is just sort of, it's not really doing anything at the minute. But again, I wouldn't really recommend trading this late, because as you can see, price was moving like quite nice all day. It's got moving quite nice, trending, even in consolidation. It's a wide consolidation, and now it's literally, it's just flat. So yeah, I'd be careful trade. I don't think you need to trade this late anyway. But and then if we go up to euro, now this is a really good one, which I really wanted to show you. So you can see here that we was in again a consolidation phase here. So price was in a downtrend, and we're waiting. If we're looking for the continuation of this downtrend, what we're waiting to see happen is price to break below this purple zone and close below it, and then come back up to retest, and then we would look to carry on in a downtrend. But obviously, as you can see, price has not been able to make that lower low, and then prices come all the way up to the opposite Bollinger Band. Now, you might say we should have entered at the close of this red candle here, but we would not have entered at the close of that red candle. And the reason for that is because if we look at our stochastics, it didn't give us a complete cross down of the red line. So if you look, say, back at this one, you can see that this confirmation candle here has made that completely come all the way down. Whereas this one here, it literally just about reached the line. So I thought that would have been a good enough confirmation. So I wouldn't have entered that candle. And then obviously you can see that prices then continued to come up a little bit more. And we've had another red candle, which has made that cross down. We're still in between the green and the red lines on the RSI indicator. So we would wait for the close of that red candle and then enter at the close, either for 1 candle or 3 candles, and that would have cleared. And then price has still not broke that zone. It's still not made a lower low. So we wouldn't be looking for downtrends if you was looking here to get into a trade. You could have got in for an uptrend, but for me personally, as you can see, AUD is a lot stronger on the currency strength, and it has been sort of all day. So for me, I would only really be looking for downtrends, for down trades, put trades, because that's going with the strength or the stronger currency in the pair. So yeah, so price come all the way back up. It's crossed back up past that EMA. We had our confirmation candle that crossed down. We're still in between the green and the red on the RSI, and you could have took that for 1 candle or 3 candles. So 3 or 15 minutes, and that would have won. And then the reason why I wouldn't have entered on these candles here is because if we look down at our RSI plot line, you can see that the plot line, it actually broke out above that green dotted line, which indicates that we might therefore be seeing more buying pressure, and then price would look to start going in the upward direction. So I just sort of waited to see what would happen. Didn't enter. The RSI plot line had broke out of that 60 line or the green dotted line. But what's really interesting about and cool about this one is you can see it's in consolidation, and price has now come down back to this zone. And if we look at this RSI indicator at the bottom here, which shows us our momentum. So you can see when we was trading over here for the put trades in consolidation, our RSI plot line was in between them red and green. And then now we're over here back at this zone. You can see that the plot line on the RSI has completely broke through that 40 line or the red dotted line, which indicates to us now that price is looking to continue to go down. And as you can see, that's exactly what happened. So price broke through that zone. So it's now eventually created a new lower low. So now we would be looking for a put trade as a breakout and retest. So we've had our breakout, price has come back up to retest the zone. And then we've had this big red confirmation candle, which has pushed us all the way back down on the RSI stochastics, way below the red dotted line or the 40 line. So we would have looked to take that trade at the close of this candle for either one candle, which is 3 minutes, or 3 candles, which is 15 minutes. And they both would have cleared. And then, so as you can see, literally, you've gone from consolidation, and then you've had a little bit of what we would call an expansion phase, where prices kicked up above and then come back in. So it's sort of like a fake out. And then continued in consolidation. But if we obviously keep close eye on our RSI indicator, which is our momentum indicator, it clearly shows you that price is now looking to go down because it's broke through that red line. So you can even see that on the candles have broke through that zone, retested, and it's dropped. If you look at the RSI plot line, you can see that the plot line has completely broke through that red line. It's come back up. So you can clearly see that with the momentum indicator that you would no longer be looking at a consolidating phase, and price would be looking to move on there and continue the downtrend, which is literally exactly what happened. And obviously our confirmations for this breakout and retest would be different confirmations for what we would have used in a consolidation. So the confirmations we would have used for this put trend was we would have looked for a breakout and retest. So prices broke out and it's retesting the zone. You would look for price to be below the 20, has come up to retest, price is below that. So that's our second confirmation. You would look to be below the 200 EMA, which is this real thick red line here, and well below that. So that's our third confirmation. Our fourth confirmation that we would look for would be the currency strength meter. And obviously always like double the strength of what euro is. So that would indicate that a downtrend and to look for put trades. So that's our fourth confirmation. And then obviously we have our stochastics that was overbought and it's crossed through, and our RSI plot line, as we've already spoke about, is now broke through that red dotted line, and it's now well below, which indicates downward momentum. So we had all of our confirmations. So we'd wait for the close of this red candle and then enter at the close of the candle. So if you took that for 3 minutes, it would have cleared, and then if you took it for 15 minutes, it still would have cleared. So you would have cleared either way. But this is just a real good setup to show you the different first eye plot lines would be, because obviously the momentum of the buyers or the sellers is always going to give you that upper hand when trading. So yeah, that's a really good example. And they're the 3 examples that I wanted to show you because it had a bit of all of the different strategies in. I know there's a few people on here, so I was just going to say, if you have any questions or anything you want to ask or you want me to show you, feel free to ask. If not, then that pretty much wraps it up for today, tonight. So yeah, just let me know.
No, it's all good, thank you.
No worries. I knew you wouldn't have any questions anyway. You're always smashing it.
Because I'm following this. It's actually a game changer.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was for me as well. You just got to be